You're listening to Sarah Talk. It's political.
You could run a fucking pet rock against Donald Trump, and I would vote for the pet rock.
Yeah.
That's where we're at.
Yeah.
Critical.
One of the things that drives me nuts as an atheist is that my polling location is at a church. And I don't necessarily have a problem. I'm not going to burst into flames walking into a church.
Now, after being on this show and having heard your viewpoints on some things, my advice to you is don't test this. I won't burst into flames.
And positively LGBT positive.
In many states, you can still be evicted from housing simply for being gay or transgender. Stand and fight with us.
Oh, and occasionally completely absurd.
I don't know if you've ever seen a lightning bug, but he flies around with a flame of light coming out of his behind. The lightning bug got a flame coming out of his butt.
It's a beautiful night tonight. All the sodomites are out.
And now, from Orlando, Florida, your host, Sarah Austin.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sarah Talk. I am Sarah Austin, and I am mixing alcohol. I'm mixing my liquor tonight.
Wait a minute. What?
I'm having rum now.
Oh, that's right.
I
forgot already.
had margaritas for dinner. I mean, at dinner, not for dinner.
At dinner, yeah, you did eat. I had already forgotten. Wow, I'm old, and I haven't had anything.
And my lovely wife, Becca.
Hi.
In studio, as always. We have a special guest for the show tonight, so let me work the magic of the technology here, and let's get Adam Burns on the line. Adam, are you there?
I'm here, I think.
Adam, welcome to Sarah Talk.
Yay, Adam.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We are so excited to finally make this thing happen.
Mm-hmm.
We got connected, last year?
Yeah.
A year ago for the Pride 48 streaming weekend, and so this year, we had a good conversation we had a great guest on for our show, and there was a lot of conversation in the chat room, and I wanted to continue that conversation. There was more to the story that I wanted to hear. But before we get into all of that, let's get into a bit about the Adam Burns story. So you, we were talking with Tim Reimel in episode 116 on the Pride 48 broadcast, and several of you were talking about experiences with religion being LGBT in the chat room. So let's talk about some of that stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, I don't know, where you want me to start or end or anything like that. But yes, I grew up in the South, and I do currently consider myself a Christian. And, I grew up, though, in the very conservative. I started in a church that many people may have not even heard of. It's called First Assembly of God.
Okay.
And it is a denomination, but it's one that, I don't know, maybe it is well known, but I don't think of it as well known. But it's evangelical. So think I don't know, speaking in tongues. It's nothing as far out as some of the churches that, well, I wouldn't call them churches, but some of the folks who have the snakes and stuff. I mean, it's nothing like that, but it is evangelical. So anyway, So I grew up there, and then we switched and we built a church, or my parents were involved in building a church, and we were non-denominational. So no particular denomination affiliation. And then when I got a computer, I guess, I started realizing, I knew before that I was, well, it's a long story. Anyway, I started messing around with a guy when I was younger, and when my father died. And then after, and I thought it was just a thing. Oh yeah, boys do this, whatever. And so after that ended, I got a computer at some point, and I had I had this online boyfriend, quote unquote. We never even saw each other. This was back in the AOL days.
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, I did that for a long time, and then, but I still, being a Christian and being like, okay, this is, feeling like it was not right. And, I always thought, oh, well, I don't know if I thought I would grow out of it, or if I thought, I would just stop at some point, you know. But then when the summer before college, I had a job at a bank, and I was bored one day, and I was just doodling on a sheet of paper, and I was writing, I love John, right? And this was this online boyfriend who I'd never seen.
Uh-huh.
And so my mom, so like a week later or something, or 2 weeks later, I was packing for school, and my mom was helping me pack, and I had brought this piece of paper home with me.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, and she's like, Adam, what is this? Well, so this gets into a much longer story that I won't bore you with, but the guy that I was messing around with was an adult barely at the time that we started. I was 11 and he was probably 20.
Okay. Gosh.
And so my first, and that was wrong of him to do, but I have mixed emotions because I don't think he was completely grown up in his mind. And he had played around with guys when he was, in his teen years. And, I'm not to excuse anything, but I mean, I just have mixed emotions about it.
Sure.
But the first thing I did was, it's all his fault. He did this to me, et cetera. Because I was just trying to like point fingers, whatever. Oh my gosh, mom, yeah, whatever. And so we had that conversation. And then I went to college because I was like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to live my life this way. I never met this person. He was just on the internet, yada, yada. And I go to school. Well, of course, you go to college and it's freedom.
Yeah.
So I did start doing that. I mean, I met my first boyfriend and, like all this stuff. But I was feeling very guilty. So this is leading up somewhere, I promise.
Uh-huh.
So I was feeling very guilty. And so one night I just called up my parents and I was in tears because I was feeling so guilty. And I was like, I need to go somewhere that can help me because I can't, I have all these feelings and like I'm not being able to control this. And so can you guys, and so I actually reached out to my parents and they had never even suggested this. I just said, hey, can you find somewhere for me to go? Mm-hmm. And so they did some research and they found a ministry, a program that was part of a church or that was, in California. I think it's called, I don't even know if it's still around, but I think it was called Choices Ministries or something like that. And they were based on, I don't know if they were affiliated with or if they were just loosely based on, but they were one of those two things with Exodus.
Okay, yes.
And Exodus is the guy you had on previously. I believe that's what he was like high up in or whatever. And so I went there and it was not like I don't know how most of the programs are because I know there are some out there where they do crazy things like, I don't know, shock you or something. I don't know what they do, but this was, we're going to help you live a godly life. So it was basically just praying a lot, having a lot of Bible studies, things of that nature. There was no, look at a picture of a guy. If you get an erection, we're going to slap you with a newspaper. There was none of that stuff. It was, it was all just, it was just, let's, pray a lot and hang around with people, church going people a lot and all that kind of stuff. But even there, I don't even know. I really don't know. Honestly, I was so guilty, but I don't know why I called my parents and like started that whole process because almost immediately as soon as I got there, I was thinking, okay, how can I contact my online boyfriend? I mean, why did I even go? It's so stupid. Like anyway. So I told them, I'm good at web design and you guys don't have a website for your ministry. I said, so if my parents can send me my computer, then I can design a website for you.
You sly dog.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know. It seems so ludicrous for me. I chose to be at this, right? I mean, I chose to be there. And so my parents sent me my computer and I started on their website, but I got back in, the AOL chat rooms and
Yeah.
found my online boyfriend and all this. And after we went to one time we went to the bank and there was a really cute bank teller and he was flirting. And I was just like, oh my God, if I wasn't in this stupid program that I'm in, I could like ask this guy for his number or something, and go for a drink later. So I don't know. And so about 6 months in, because they wanted you to stay for about a year.
Yep.
And about 6 months in, I just decided, I don't know why it took me 6 months, but I decided, this is not for me. I'm going to have to figure out how to be okay with being gay, I guess. But
wait, so it didn't work? You mean to tell me? You mean to tell me
No.
that this program didn't work? I don't believe you.
But wait a minute. What about prayer?
yeah, well, and I've always, I still have conflicting thoughts to this day, but
Sure.
I was just like, and the thing is, I've always been a people pleaser. So it's kind of hard for me. And actually coming on your program, because I believe, why I don't want to speak for both of you, but I believe both of you are atheists.
Yes.
And
Well, I don't want to speak for Becca.
Yes, stop speaking for me, bitch.
I don't want to speak for either one of you. But I do still consider myself a Christian. The reason that I was so like enthralled with the conversation that you had, why can't I remember his name? I bought his
Tim.
book. It's sitting
Yeah.
right over there.
Tim Reimel.
Tim, thank you.
Yep.
And Sarah already said it once tonight, Adam. Pay attention.
I know Alzheimer's. I'm telling you, I
Oh.
shouldn't make jokes though.
All
My
right, no.
grandfather had Alzheimer's and he died recently. But the I've always had this two sides of me. So when I was around my Christian friends and my family and all that, I was one Adam. And then when I was around my
Yeah.
gay friends, I was this other Adam. And it's very hard to be both parts of me, even to this day, because most of my gay friends are either atheists or not very religious at all, or, things of that nature. And obviously, all of my conservative friends and family are not pro-gay.
Yep.
So that's always been a struggle. And so, I know that Tim is still believes in God, at least based on what he said.
Right.
So I found that really interesting. But, I'm almost 40 and I'm still, obviously I know that I'm gay and that's not going to change. And I have a partner. Well, but we're not married, but boyfriend for a long time. And I've reconciled that. But there's still some weirdness. Like my parents know and my family knows, and Mark comes with me to family get-togethers and all that. And my mom's calling him son.
Oh.
But there's still a part of me. It's so weird. It's not even weird. It's like there's still a part of me that even though my parents are being very accepting, still has that little twinge of guilt. Like,
Yeah.
well, they're being accepting, but back in the back of their mind,
Right.
it's always about what other people are thinking, right? It's not about what I think. It's about, what are they thinking? So anyway, that was kind of my experience, a really the shortest version of my experience I could tell.
Yeah, I think there is something very key there about especially when you're talking about family, because there's a difference between like tolerating me and who I am and my relationship and embracing me and who I am.
Yeah.
Like that's a very big difference, and sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between the two.
And sometimes the parents might think that they're embracing when they're only tolerating, and they
Sure.
don't know the difference at all. So,
Sure.
I mean, I've seen and heard a lot of those experiences.
Yeah, they're trying, and I feel like, mom calling Mark son is genuine,
Yep.
but I just,
Yeah, that sounds like a big deal to me. Like that's yeah.
Well,
and I'm so worried though. They invited us, so they've known about him for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and they invited us. The whole family for Christmas is going to Destin, Florida. And we rented this huge house with a swimming pool and like all this stuff. And I've never slept overnight with him there at a family event, family
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I
That
I'm
could
pretty
be
sure
awkward.
they know we sleep together, but I'm gonna, when it gets to the assigning bedrooms part,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
it's so weird. Like, well, I will take this one over here, or is she gonna want us to have two? I don't know. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know how that's gonna go, but we'll see.
And are you in is the family dynamic okay enough for you to be like,
Look,
no,
I'm
no,
an
no,
adult.
this is
and
yeah. No, we sleep together and we're going to sleep together and that's just how it is.
Good question. I that's probably more of a, I don't know if I would do that because of the fact that I'm a people pleaser part of me. I think I could do it.
How old are you again?
I'll be 40 on August 17th.
And you haven't grown out of that yet?
No, I like,
I'm about to turn 42 and I'm carrying around stuff like that myself. Plenty of that
it's
kind of stuff.
always, I mean,
You're
it's
gonna be
how I
42,
lived my
right?
life. Like,
No,
I
you're not.
swear,
Oh, you
I-
said 40 also. I thought she said 42 to number 2. She meant
Here, I
2
think you
also.
need this more than I do.
I wasn't sure
Oh
whether
my-
she was
I
meaning.
was like, you're not that much older than me. What?
Oh my god.
I just rolled with it.
Yeah.
But because I've just been always two different people.
Yeah.
I was just, and I got really good at being the exact person that whoever I was around wanted or needed me to be.
Yeah.
That sucks.
And, so it's hard to get out of that.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes,
Yeah.
who knows?
Let us know.
Yeah.
Have you been to Destin before?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We went, we did this whole, Mark is from the Philippines and we love to travel. So we travel at least 2 or 3 times a year. And he's been on a mission to find sand that is as nice as the sand in the Philippines. Where he's-
Okay.
And so we've been to Hawaii, we went to Puerto Rico, we went to Key West, we went all these places. Finally, I think Destin was the closest. It was as good, if not, but I was avoiding, I don't know if I was avoiding, but I've always thought of that side of Florida as being the more, I don't know how to say it politically correct, but the people who took spring break there from where I was from, were the good old boy redneck, Roseanne sort of families.
Yes. Yes.
You're not wrong.
So so I had never even suggested let's go there, but we decided because we could drive, well, it's a 15-hour drive, but we decided to go ahead and drive it, and the beaches were really nice. I mean,
yeah.
So we'll see how that goes, but that's kind of the story of my life. And then, all the way up until, I was just thinking the other day, when I lived in Dallas, I was in the Turtle Creek Corral, which is, some people may have heard of it, some people not, but it's a large gay men's chorus.
Okay.
Really good. I mean, I haven't listened to them recently, but like a really good chorale. And probably 250 men in this chorus. And I joined it because I'm a musical person and I wanted to make friends. So I thought, well, I'll join this choir and I'll make a lot of friends. And I'm really proud. Like, I have some recordings of us, and while I was in it, we did this DVD that was a beautiful DVD with stories of different men in the chorale who were struggling with different gay issues, one couple trying to adopt, one, various different things, but they had the chorale music in the background and they interviewed the conductor and like all this kind of stuff. My mom to this day still doesn't know that I was in the Turtle Creek Chorale because I've been shy to tell her.
Oh.
So I was thinking the other day, at some point I've got to bring out the DVD, and say, watch this. Because my mom was a music teacher. She was a choir director.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why it's so hard for me because, like I said, she's calling Mark's son and all this other stuff. They're inviting us to go to Destin, and we go over there. We live 5 minutes away from them, and we go over there every couple of weeks and all of that. And just for me to tell her, hey, I was in a gay chorus when I was in Dallas. And by the way, you probably will think they're good. Here, listen to this.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know why that's hard, but
Huh. Yeah,
when I'm
I don't want to like psychotherapy or anything.
I kind of do.
Like I
but-
want, yeah, like I want to know. Okay, take us back to your childhood, to your youth. Like, what were some of the things that you heard or saw?
I can relate to that though,
Yeah.
because like there's plenty of things that even though my parents know like what my life situation is, there's plenty of things that I've done that I still wouldn't
Sure.
feel comfortable just coming out and saying. So I get it.
it might. Well, I don't know about
Ye-
when I was young. I mean, the only thing about when I was young, because we didn't talk about
Mhm.
gay people, so I didn't hear about that. I mean, there was a guy who showed up at our church that was friends with my mom, and he was a really talented singer. And he started, and I play trumpet and I sing, and I was always on what they call the worship team. I was always in the music team from the time I was like 13 on. And he became part of that team as well. And he sang and played keyboards and like all this stuff. But he was sick a lot. And no one ever discussed with me that he had moved back home from Dallas or wherever he had lived because he had come down or he had gotten HIV.
Mm.
And so I never knew that, like never. And then when I went to Dallas and I joined the chorale, the first night there was Lonnie, this guy that was like went to church with me. Like for 4 or 5 years, from junior high all the way through when I graduated high school, he was going to our church. And I was like, wow, I didn't even and so he and I sat down and had a conversation, and like I learned all this stuff, but I didn't have any of those I didn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that he had upset stomach a lot or, whatever. And sometimes he couldn't make it to church. And, and another guy who I was, hung out with a lot. He was older than me, but he was really active in the church and had his own one-man show where he would go around and he would do he was the Apostle Paul, and he would do a dramatic one-man show about the life of the Apostle Paul. And later, after I, realized that I was gay, I found out that he's gay. But we never talked about that when I was growing up. And he was also close friends of the family.
And don't you just wish, like, God, I wish everybody could talk about it so that,
Mhm.
that's frustrating.
So, now I keep in touch with both of those guys, and I'm friends with them. And he's actually he's a gay minister in Little Rock. He could help me work through some of this,
Probably.
residual guilt.
Yeah.
I should go down there and be like, help me.
Help.
But,
so you're
anyway.
when you're talking about those kind of hushed conversations or conversations that don't happen at all, are those experiences in your life sort of or maybe part of what inspired you to want to create a podcast network to help uplift gay voice or queer voices?
I wish it would be such a good.
Oh, tie it together. Just tie it together.
I've always been a very creative person, and I, even though I was a music major in college and I play trumpet, I never really listened to music other than Mariah Carey, which some people would, shame me for. But
Shame you for
Right?
that.
We all listened to Mariah
Everybody,
Carey.
even the people who said they didn't, were listening to Mariah
Yeah.
in their bathrooms.
Yeah.
Come on.
I get emotional and sad that she doesn't sing as well as she used to. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a thing. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a thing. She, I still am a fan, but whatever. So I didn't listen to a lot of music. So I would listen to talk radio. And I don't remember exactly what happened, but I found out about this podcasting thing, or that you could download shows from the internet. And I was always running out of talk radio shows to listen to. So I think I just searched on iTunes for gay podcasts because I wanted something that was, close to something I would, enjoy listening to and was close to my life experience.
Right. You're not listening to Rush Limbaugh and G. Gordon Liddy and Dr. Laura Schlesinger. Yeah.
No, Dr. Laura used to come on the channel, the station that I listened to, but I listened to the Tom Likas show.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard that, but that was one of my first radio shows.
No, we had when I worked in talk radio. So I was the producer of a morning show at a talk radio station back in Decatur, Illinois. And we had our morning show was 3 hours, but then after that we had like Mike Gallagher and Dr. Laura was one of them, G. Gordon Liddy. I can't remember. I can't remember them all now, but yeah, it's good times.
So I listened to a podcast called Drink Till We're Funny.
Oh, that's what Dan does.
And they were really good. Like, I mean, all they did was sit around. It was 3 friends. There was one straight woman who was friends with one of the gay guys, and then there was the other gay friend. So it was like three people. And they would just sit around every week around a microphone and talk about their life, basically. But they really were funny. And I reached out to one of them, and he was coming to Dallas, and we met and talked about podcasting. And I just decided, hey, I'm creative. I want to try this thing. And I convinced my boyfriend at the time to do a show with me. So we bought and I've always been into technology. So I researched, what are the best microphones and, all this kind of stuff. And I was pretty poor at the time. So, I mean, what were the best microphones that I could afford?
Yeah, sure.
But I did all that and started the Adam and Maddie show. And then when he and I broke up, we were together for 8 years, but when he and I broke up, that show obviously ended. That show ended because in our 100th episode, we were doing it live on pride48.com, and he got so drunk. He is an alcoholic, and he got so drunk that he cussed out all the people that were in our apartment. Kicked them out. We got in a huge argument. He started throwing things, and I had to call the police because I wasn't afraid for my life, but I didn't want him to destroy the apartment because I was supporting him at the time, and I didn't want to pay for all that.
Yeah, that's not cool.
So he went to jail, and I said, you know what, we're done. And it was so horrible because I left the live stream on, and some people that were listening to the live stream heard the cops come. Whoa. They heard the whole thing, right?
Oh my God.
Whoa.
And so, yeah, it was crazy. But anyway, during the time that we weren't having horrible fights, I met a friend, Daniel Brewer, who was doing a show in Florida. And he and I would just have conversations late into the night on Skype or Hangouts or whatever we were on. And we were both doing live streams at the time. Maddie and I had our own live stream, and he had his own Daniel had his own. And we just decided, hey, let's start something so that other podcasters don't have to figure out how to stream for themselves. They can just use our stream because we're paying for this stream, but we're using it 1 hour a week.
Right. Yeah.
And so we started Pride 48, and the concept was actually Daniel's. Hey, we'll invite all these LGBT and LGBT friendly podcasts, and we'll have a weekend every year where we do 48 hours of live streaming, and that's where we got the name from, Pride 48. And so that was, I don't even know, 9 or 10 years ago. And we, podcasters don't always enjoy doing live. So, we have the stream open all the time, and we play right now. I play the most recent version of the podcasts that are part of Pride 48.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ones that do a live show, then they do their live show. But everybody usually comes back for the June event. And then for a brief period after my breakup with Maddie, I had a hiatus from Pride 48 because I was figuring out my life.
Right.
And Daniel and the others came up with the in-person event. So we did a Vegas event for 5 or 6 years, and all the podcasters would go to Vegas, and we get a big banquet room, and we do our shows from there, and we all hang out and have fun. And so now we're doing it again this year. We're doing it in New Orleans in August.
Awesome. So well, go ahead and talk about that some more then. So the New Orleans event, can people still register to come to this? How does that all work? What are you guys going to do?
Sure. Yeah. People absolutely can still register. If you go over to pride48.com and click on the /event, or when you get to pride48.com, you can click on the event tab, and all the information, the current information is there. I'm going to be adding some more information tonight and throughout the weekend, so there'll be more.
And you guys like do this up right. Like you've got a hotel in the area that you've made agreements with and I think you guys even had a special rate for a limited time on the room rates. So it's like everybody can stay in a block of rooms and hang out together. That's pretty cool.
Correct. Yeah. So we had, I don't know as of today, we gave a date of July 4th as the cutoff date for the hotel, but that was only because eventually we were going to run out of, when you do an agreement with a hotel, they give you a block of rooms.
Yep.
And so we wanted to kind of encourage people to make their reservations as soon as possible. So so they would get a room at the special rate before we ran out. We may have 1 or 2 rooms left in the block, but there's a link on the events page to get to it. It's the Holiday Inn Superdome. We'll have a banquet room with a stage and an audio booth of sorts with a technical person running the sound and chairs and all that that you would have. I mean, that was stupid that I said chairs. I mean, what are people doing? You have to stand up when you come to our event.
It's bring your own bag chair.
Hey, who doesn't stand up to listen to podcasts?
Right?
I don't understand what the problem is.
And so, yeah, it's a 3-day. Most people get there early and leave late, but the actual event starts Friday afternoon. We have what we call the pink carpet, where people get dressed up and walk into the ballroom, and they get interviewed by a couple of podcasters as they walk in. And some people wear costumes and stuff. Then we have our opening show, which we used to do a skit, but this year we're doing podcaster match game.
Okay.
And so we're going to have a couple of hosts for that. And we're going to have podcasters up on stage, and we're going to have listener contestants basically that try to match the podcasters. And
oh, that's fun.
Anyway, so then all the shows, like the June event, all the shows will do their show, except instead of being at home, they'll be up on a stage. We'll still be streaming it live on pride48.com. There'll still be a chat room. And then we also do things outside of podcasting. So we have a breakfast that we'll all go to. That's still being organized, so I don't know where it's going to be. We're looking at like possibly a ghost tour of some sort on Sunday for everyone. We're going to do like a bar crawl sort of thing. The bar crawl is not for the what is it? It's the seedier bars.
I heard
it's
something.
A real bar crawl.
I heard something about a place that has a pool table, but people don't play pool on it.
Oh my!
That's what I heard.
Wow. Yeah, and so not for the faint of heart, we'll say.
Right.
So we have that. And,
not if you have to get back to your, say, babysitter like us old ladies.
Right.
Damn.
And a lot of people will also, because for some people this is their only vacation for the year, and so people will also plan little side tours and stuff like that. We try to leave enough time open so that you have some time to see the city, and then also have time to listen to some of your favorite podcasts. So anyway, and yes, you can register all the way up until the day of. I can't guarantee the room rates, but everything is over at the website. And it's actually, the event is August I'm looking at a calendar because I don't have it memorized. It is August the 24th through the 26th.
Cool. So
I'll be there, if you want to see me, I'll be there the 22nd through the 28th. yeah, but that's when the event's happening. We're all really excited about it.
Cool.
I'm really upset that we can't go this year, but I do have a question. When are you going to bring this event to, say, Orlando, Florida, or Tampa, Florida? I'd even go to Miami.
Oh no, I'm not going to Miami.
Oh, come
No,
on,
no,
Sarah.
No.
For you two,
Orlando, Tampa.
Okay, Jacksonville? No,
Jackson-
no, I don't want to go
no,
to Jacksonville.
no.
Mhm. Orlando, Daytona. Daytona's doable.
that has been drama since the inception of the event, because we had it at Vegas for so long. And I'll be completely honest. So we had it at Vegas for 2 to 3 reasons. I'll figure that out when I get to the end of my list. The first one was we needed somewhere. We have a lot of listeners and podcasters who are not wealthy, we'll say.
Sure.
So we need an event to be affordable.
Sure.
Vegas, from just about anywhere in the U.S., you can fly to Vegas for fairly cheaply. So we were doing Vegas. Well, we also had connections at Vegas, at one of the Vegas properties, who was able to get us free everything.
Oh gosh.
We
Well, that's
got,
a great
we got-
reason to do it in Vegas.
Yeah, right. So we got a free. They gave us a suite for free that we used for people to just hang out and sit on the couch and talk to each other. We kept liquor in there so people could go and get drunk or whatever they wanted to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our meeting place. And they also gave us a ballroom, again, completely free of charge,
Wow.
for us to do. Well, but after we did it there a few times, people started complaining, "Hey, this is our only vacation throughout the year. We'd like to go somewhere else."
Sure.
Uh-huh.
And we're like, "Hey guys, we're getting this for free. Would you like to pay a lot more, to come to this event?" Because at the time we weren't charging a registration fee or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we decided on New Orleans because of a survey that we did. We contacted Vegas when we were starting to prepare for this year, and they were not giving us anything for free. That had changed. The guy who
the
hooked us
pool
up
went dry.
moved to a different department or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it was pretty expensive. What we had in the past was a lot of money. And so we thought, well, this is the perfect opportunity. We've had a lot of people say they want to have it somewhere else. So we'll just put out a survey and see what people are thinking. So we put out a survey and New Orleans won. And we're getting a lot of people who couldn't attend Vegas, but who live in this side of the country
Yeah, I bet.
that are being able to drive. So that's good.
Yep.
I'm open to doing it at any location. It's just, it was a lot more expensive because we're not getting anything for free.
Mm-hmm.
So we did have to add a registration fee. We did have to beg for donations because the registration fee was really not enough to cover, what we're paying.
Sure.
And anyway, but yeah, we're every year. We haven't decided. It was every year in the past, and then we took a couple of year break, and then we went back. So, but we're always, I'll keep Florida in mind. That's all I can say.
So if I can get some killer connections and get you some free shit and maybe a ballroom and an open bar, then it's good, right?
Preach it, and we're there. Just tell us the dates.
All right, I'll work on that. It might
do
take
you
a
know
little
a guy?
time. I might know a guy. No, I don't know a guy, but I will find a guy now.
Florida's not out of the realm of possibility, because the other thing we look for is a place that gay folks would enjoy.
Yeah.
So, Disney and all of that and Orlando and everything is something that gay folks tend to enjoy. New Orleans being seedy and having a lot of bars tends to be something gay folks enjoy.
And there are a lot of, like, on the outer skirts of the tourist traps, there's a lot of resorts that are not like that expensive.
Right. Still nice.
Still nice
Yeah.
and still close enough that if you want to go
But you're not like
to
right
the
in it.
downtown Orlando bar crawl or whatever,
Yeah.
you're not too far away. And there's Ubers at the ready all the time. So
Yeah.
it could to be doable.
We talked about even doing a cruise, and obviously we wouldn't be able to broadcast live from a cruise, but we could do our shows
You could
and
record
then
it
record
and,
them and then say, sorry if you can't make it, we were on a cruise, but we'll rebroadcast them next week.
Right. You just have like island music and just play an hour for your show that week of just island music.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
The entire show is just people saying, God, I wish you were here. It's so nice.
Can I have another margarita, please?
Well, when we first started the from home or the live in person, we were doing it with the same concept of let's try to fill up as much of the weekend as possible, and let's have from home and from Vegas shows. Well, the problem was that everybody who's in Vegas wants to go out and enjoy Vegas and see each other, and hang out and go to the bars and go gamble or whatever. And the people at home, couldn't participate in that. So that's when we changed it to the only people who are podcasting are the ones that are in the location, and we're going to have a limited number of podcasting hours so you can do both,
Cool. Before we move out of this, so what podcasts are you actively hosting yourself now?
So I am a
define actively, right?
Well, I prefer to have a co-host, but my co-founder of Pride 48, Daniel, decided to whatever you do, put away his headphones and microphone.
Oh no!
Is it a hiatus or is it a?
Yeah. Did he leave the band?
Or did he just
quit the band?
Did he walk away and decide not to come back at all?
He has stepped away from the organization and from podcasting. You never know. I mean, people who are creative and enjoy doing something, sometimes they will come back. But yeah, he said it was over, basically. That he was done.
So it's an indefinite.
Yeah. And so we had a show, Dubious Intent, together, and I was doing a little personal journal thing that I call Geeky Gay, and I still do that. And and I'm not as frequent as I should be because it's harder to get yourself motivated when it's one person talking into.
Amen.
Notice.
Amen.
I had to. I don't know.
Step into the co-host seat.
Yeah.
I love podcasting, but I bore myself.
Yeah.
When I'm just talking, but I do it because I wanted to keep doing a podcast. So I still do it. And then recently, and when we have what we call State of the Station, so when we have the Pride 48 stuff, I generally co-host those. And then recently, Big Fatty, who's one of our one of our suits, we call them, and another podcaster who has a show, Big Fatty Online. Don't look for bigfatty.com. Look for bigfattyonline.com.
Be careful what you type into the search bar.
Oh my God. I don't even want to know.
I mean, that was a thing for a while. I'm not sure. That website may just be like a park domain now, but at one point it was not a nice place to go.
All right, what did you say, bigfatty.com? Hold on.
Listen to... Oh, boy.
We started up a new show, and so it will only go on during the Big Brother season.
Okay.
But we are both avid Big Brother watchers, and so we started a show called But First.
Oh my God.
And
wow.
so we recap Big Brother every week. We do it live on pride48.com on Sunday evenings at what time do we do it? It's 9:30 Eastern. I have to because I'm
whenever your phone alarm goes off. That's when we do the show.
Mm-hmm.
We watch Big Brother first separately and then we do the show. But and it's you can go to butfirstpodcast.com and you can subscribe. We're also doing a contest with each other. We picked a team and we get points for various things. And so yeah, so we're doing that, and I don't know, maybe I'll convince him to do just a different podcast per reality show so that we're always doing something throughout the year.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I don't know. So, for Survivor, we'll have to come up with comeoninguys.com or something. I don't know, some catchphrase from, I don't know if you watch Survivor. But so I still do Geeky
Not
Gay.
since maybe season 3.
I don't even think I watched the first season, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I watched a little bit way back in the day.
You could do one about the White House. Just call it You're Fired.
That's a reality show for you.
I don't think
I know you guys, girls, political stuff on your show, and I will just mention this. I'm not very political, or at least I prefer to stay away from political conversations, mainly because of those 2 boxes I live in that I told about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not conservative when it comes to politics. I cannot stand Trump. I cannot understand why anybody would have voted for him because he is just anti everything that anyone. I just don't understand it. But my parents did vote for him, and they have a Trump sticker on their car.
Oh my.
God.
And
And you're gonna
sometimes
stay
I
in a
have to
house with
pick up their
them?
car. I have to like pick up their like when we have an airport nearby, and when they fly, they will want me to go get their
Oh,
car and
no.
bring it back home so that they don't have to pay the outrageous parking, fees.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so embarrassed just the drive that the 10-minute drive from the airport back to their house. I'm like, oh my
All
God,
right. Here's
I'm
what
in
you do.
you-
This is what you do. You measure the bumper sticker,
Oh God.
and then you have a sign shop make you a rainbow magnet. And when you have to use their car, you just slap that rainbow right over the top of that Trump sticker, and you're all good.
You're on a good track there. It's on the mirror. It's on the
window,
glass.
yeah.
Well,
So-
then it needs to be
I-
a vinyl, like
Yeah,
a
a cling.
peel, a cling. Yeah,
Oh yeah, okay.
yeah.
I'm gonna look into that because it's so embarrassing. It really is.
Or get one to go right underneath of it that's like, this is my parents' car.
Or just get a clear red circle with the line through it to put over it.
Yeah.
You could get that real easy in a cling.
I thought about just removing it,
Well,
and
you can do
then
that.
when they come home, just saying, I don't know. I guess someone at the airport,
Oh God.
vandalized your
No.
car. I'm so
I
sorry.
stopped at the gas station and went in and got a Slurpee, and when I came back,
It was God. Now we've already established that your memory is about as good as mine. What are the odds that you would remember to put it back on?
No, I'm gonna leave it. That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna
Take it
take it
off and
off,
leave
and
it
then when I
off.
get home, just say, I don't know. Somebody
Yeah.
removed it. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
It's just
Fucking Hillary people.
yeah, blame it on the Hillary people. Oh,
Exactly.
man.
Oh,
exactly.
God.
That's a good idea, actually. But if I got the cling film thing with like the red line through it, or this is my parents' car, or anything
Yeah.
like that, I would forget to remove that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And
So-
then
So you'd have to set a reminder in your phone every time you got in the car. It would have to be like GPS activated when you get to the airport.
yeah.
Something.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I can forget. I can walk up the stairs and forget what I was coming upstairs for. So
Yeah.
I hear you. I
It's
have such a
horrible.
bad memory. But on the podcasting, no, absolutely. Like I write from the radio perspective, and so like the second half of the show here tonight is all political, religious news and stuff. And so I have it like very well scripted to where I could just read it with, with the intonation that I want to get across, and that by itself would be okay. But I'm when I miss out on that, what I miss out on is the conversation that goes around it, right? Because it's not just my opinion. It's let's get Becca in here and Mandy in here and Michael in here and find out all the different Victoria says more people equals more ideas equals better content. Absolutely. Yeah, that's it.
Nail on the head, Victoria.
I do. I know that you guys said that I could stay, but my brother is in town and they're having a dinner.
What?
So I may have to.
No,
That is
come on.
that is quite all right. I gave you the option to stay if you wanted to. I'm not gonna twist your arm.
Well, I'm having a really good time, but I just thought, and I would love to do that at some point. But my mom kind of sprung this thing on me, and I thought, well, Sarah told me I could do the interview and then,
Yes.
leave. So I won't disappoint my mom. This is part of me again being a people pleaser. See,
You
I
want to
couldn't
do it
tell
all for
my mom
everybody.
no.
Yeah.
I have a very good friend of mine who has this disease too. It's called not being able to say no to anybody.
Yeah.
And I tell her all the time, stop it. But I understand.
It's hard.
It's-
It comes from.
And she wants to please you as well. So she's like,
Yeah.
okay, I promise.
Yeah, exactly. And
Stop.
then nope.
And,
mm-mm.
the
And I'll be
next
like,
day
hey,
she's
do you want to
yes,
go do
girl.
this? And I know that she should say no, and she doesn't.
Yeah. So I would like to. I mean, if I'm invited back, I would love
Oh God,
to
yes, anytime. Yeah.
do that. I just, my brother and my two nephews and nieces and
Aw.
everybody. So
not a problem. Well, then before we move on, why don't you kind of recap for us again where people can find out information about you and Pride 48 and all of the shows that you're a part of?
Absolutely. If you want to be bored to tears and you want to listen to a personal journal podcast, and I say that because I'm never going to promise to be entertaining, but if you like the sound of my voice and my Southern accent, you can go to geekygay.com, and I talk openly about my life and what I do. If you want to hear about Big Brother, you can go to butfirstpodcast.com and you can subscribe there. And
is it
for
But
all
First
of the,
B-U-T-T or B-U-T? I just have clarification.
that would be a porn recap.
I couldn't help myself.
Which could be a good show too. I'm no judgment.
We're going to be recapping butts all night.
Right? Hey, listen, I don't know. I don't watch Big Brother. I don't know what's on there.
No butts yet, but if we were in the UK, there are
right?
butts in the UK.
Yeah, Big Brother XXX is a completely different,
Oh my god.
different show. He's a big brother.
So they also have 24-hour live feeds on that as well.
Uh-huh.
Oh man.
And then, as I say on all of my shows, if you want to find many, many more LGBT and LGBT-friendly podcasts, you can go to pride48.com. You can find out all about the event in August, and hopefully you'll join us.
I love being part of Pride 48. It's so much fun, and there's so many different shows that are all about different things, and it's just the variety is. I love the variety. There's diversity. It's so great.
LGBT melting pot of podcast. It's really cool.
It's great.
Well, we love having you, and I love your radio voice, and I don't care what the other. I don't know if you heard that, but I got such a hard time from everyone else. Like, oh, so our shows don't sound good.
Yeah.
I'm like, guys, I was just giving somebody a compliment. You know, like,
Right? Yeah.
Let me compliment someone, please.
Everything is not about you, okay?
Right.
Yeah. Listen, you can't. You've got to give everybody a participation trophy, Adam. You should know this.
I try. I mean, you know, I try to please everyone.
Yes, you do. We've established that.
Oh my gosh. On
Okay.
that note, you should probably go meet your mom and your nephew and your niece and your brother.
Yeah, right. And for the next show, we'll book a therapist to be in studio, and we'll see if we can help you out.
Oh my gosh.
I'll lay on the couch.
Perfect. Yes, and tell us about how terrible your mother was.
Oh jeez.
That's the trope, right?
I don't know.
Okay, Adam, thank you so much for coming on with us tonight. This is a lot of fun. We'll definitely do it again.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Have a good night. We love you.
Love you too.
Good night.
See ya.
Bye.
All right, Adam Burns of Pride 48 and etc.
Yeah.
Millions of other projects things that are going on that he's done.
Cool guy.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So now let me load up a break here, and what we'll do when we come back. That's sad. I wish Adam could have stuck around for the
That's okay.
for the news, but we'll do it again sometime. Maybe tonight wasn't a good night anyway, because I'm gonna rip on Christianity pretty hard.
Yeah, that's probably why he left.
So we have some Republicans get a taste of their own medicine. Do-it-yourself gun manufacturing. That's fun. Coming to near you soon. I have some updates about some stories that we talked last week. We'll talk about all of that and more when we come back. You're listening to Sarah Talk.
Are you ready for your first card? As I look at the set I placed down for you, I see an interesting things rising. Some of it has to deal with love and money and changes, and hopefully they're going to be for the better. Now your first card represents your situation, maybe some problems you've been having, maybe a little bit about yourself. Your first card is sorrow. This card is letting us know that there is some type of disruption in your life. Not that it's a big deal, but this card is giving off a strange vibe of anxiety. Actually, this card is warm in my hand. Oh, now caller, if you listen here, I'm seeing in the cards. Oh, yes, the 45 of mangoes. The 45 of mangoes card says you're going to go on to Patreon and subscribe, because there is nothing better than giving when receiving? What will you ask me? Find out now and I see for you. Call me now for a free tarot reading.
I was feeling so alone.
I was going through a really difficult time.
I was embarrassed and a little scared.
I didn't want to bother anyone.
I didn't think they'd understand.
I thought it would just make things worse.
It was tough at first, but I did it.
It ended up taking a huge weight off my shoulders.
I feel a lot better.
I'm glad I asked for help.
I asked for help. I asked for help.
I asked my teacher. I asked my aunt.
I asked my dad.
I asked my mom.
I asked the Trevor Project.
Now, I feel like I can get through this.
I know that I am brave.
You can do this.
You can do this.
You can do this.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Whatever it is, ask for help.
If you're thinking about suicide or need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. Trained counselors are there to help 24/7. Ask for help.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've messed up your daughter's haircut. Do you A, get spiritual?
Mom, where's the mirror?
Beauty is within. Oh.
B, find the positives?
Less time blow drying, more time texting?
Or C, show empathy?
Mom, you really don't have to.
Twinsies!
I kinda love it. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on adoption, visit adoptuskids.org. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Hey, this is Morgan Stevenson tuning in from Kalamazoo, Michigan at the Sarah Talk podcast.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Sarah Talk.
Hello.
Thank you, Morgan. That was great.
Yeah.
We played Dan's last week. Played
Does
Morgan's
this
week.
play in the Final Cut version?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All
When
right.
it goes to the podcast feed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if the breaks were in there. I guess they would have to be because.
Yeah. So the breaks are included in the free feed for iTunes and Google Play and Stitcher and all of those different places that we have it.
Very cool.
And so the entire ad break plays for that, but for on the patron feed, it cuts from the fade out of the music.
Okay.
The bump out music from the first segment and starts with that, with the bump in for the second segment.
All right.
It just cuts the ads out. So for as
they can
little as
hear
$1 an episode, you don't have to listen to the ads.
So what my question is, I guess
Yeah.
they hear the bumper, the call in.
Yeah.
But they don't hear the ads.
The ads,
Got
right?
it.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, on Patreon.
I don't know.
Patreon.com/SarahTalk. So if you want to record one of those for us, that would be super sweet. We've got so many ready to go. There's a handful, and I'm gonna rotate through them. A couple of them I still have to purchase the music licensing rights for, and one of those songs in particular is like $30 just on its own. Patreon.com/SarahTalk. If you want to help us fund such a thing. But you can call in at 224-40-SARAH, 224-407-2724, and record a voicemail. We can use it that way. If you have a microphone and a computer, you can record it there and send us a WAV or an MP3. You can record it on your phone and send us the M4A file. What?
Dan?
Oh, yes. I was going to respond to that in just a minute.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, read it. Yeah, but we'll move
says,
on.
if you get a Pride 48 event held in Orlando, I'd co-host in the Sarah Talk podcast studio. You're welcome anytime.
Yes. Sold.
Yes. Anytime. Come on down.
So I have big dreams for this thing. I dream bigger. I dream bigger than I can afford in most cases.
Don't we all?
Yeah. I don't know. I would like to do a charity event. I think that would be great.
Yeah.
I want to get involved in, let me think if I can tell this story. Let me write a note. So I can see if I can tell the story because it's work related and I have to be careful to walk around it.
Oh, okay.
But no, I would love to have to have a commercial studio that people could come into and I would produce podcasts for them. I'm all for that. If you want to have a podcast, seriously, you don't have to get as fancy as this. This is just because I worked in radio and I have high expectations, but for myself. But no, anybody, like, if you have a half decent microphone and a computer, you too can have a podcast. And if you want help producing it, or if you need ask some questions, I can help you. Whatever we can do.
Michael says, "Nice haircut, Sarah. Where do you go?"
I go to Michael. I go to Michael Kaplan at Tony Michael's studio in Celebration.
Tony Michael's salon. It's not studio.
I've got studio on the brain. Tony Michael's Salon in Celebration, Florida. Yes.
And they just recently, I guess, had Studio 720. He made a post on their Facebook page. Now they're one big family.
Oh.
They've come into his salon.
Interesting.
Some of them.
Cool.
So if you had trouble getting in before, there should be plenty of stylists.
Tony Michael's Salon is the unofficial sponsor of the Sarah Talk podcast.
It really is. We love Michael.
Yes, we do.
And his salon.
Absolutely.
He's amazing.
Okay, so let me tell you the story, right? And so recent events have really inspired me to get involved in doing more things that help people. And the problem with that, of course, is that I work a third shift job, and I need to spend time with my family. That's a priority. We do the show, so finding time to do all of the things that I want to do is a little tricky. So I got into street epistemology, right? I would love to have a street epistemology conversation with Adam. I think that would be fun.
Oh my gosh, she's really into this, by the way.
I am.
It's all the time.
But listen, I don't watch like video after video anymore because I watched them all. But one of the videos that Anthony Magnabosco has on his channel from back in the day. Shut up. From back in the day, like, or early on in his, I don't know, call it career, it's a hobby. And he ran into this homeless guy in the park, and was basically, he was like, "Dude, you look rough. Are you okay? Can I help you out? Do you need some money?" And they had some conversations, and like, long story short, over the course of 7 videos, and he kept in touch with this guy. They got together, every couple weeks and texted and stuff, and really built a relationship with him. But basically all Anthony really did for the guy to get this whole thing started was he gave him some money to get some clean clothes and a haircut, and put him up in a hotel for the night. And from that, he came back, it was like the next day, and clean clothes, fresh haircut, ready to take on the world and go get a job. And so over the course of these videos, he gets a job. He eventually gets into another job, and one of the things that really spoke to me in these videos was that there was a point when, here's a guy who has fell on hard times. He's lost it all. But he's trying. He's doing what we asked him to do, right? The old Republican, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, work hard, and you can get anything in life. That's what this guy was doing. He was doing it. He had a job. He just didn't have a place to stay. Mm-hmm. And so he got picked up for criminal trespass, because where the fuck is he going to sleep? And so then half of his paycheck was going toward that fine. But eventually he got through that and put away some money, and he and his friend got a place. And the very last video is them inviting Anthony over to this place. Mm. And it's a shit shack. It really is. But it's dry roof, and it's a place to sleep. We don't have to worry about people going to come in and steal your shit in the middle of the night or get arrested in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And they were so proud of this place because they did it with a little help from Anthony themselves.
Yeah.
Now, the beginning of that story that I left out is that when Anthony met him, he was carrying around the guy was carrying around some literature that he had been given by someone for Outcry at the Barrio. Now, Outcry at the Barrio is a Christian homeless shelter.
Okay.
Right. But their deal was, and he was considering going to this.
Be that desperate.
But their deal was, you come live here and we'll feed you. 3 months you live here and you cannot have a job. All you do for 3 months is study the word. Now, after that 3 months, when we've got you good and indoctrinated, then you can go off and look for a job and you know. And so that day in the park, when Anthony stopped him and said, "Hey, man, do you need some help?" He had that interaction not happened, he could very well have ended up at that place, and then who knows what, right from there.
Wow.
And so that inspired me to reconsider maybe some preconceptions that I had about the homeless condition. And you know, I hear from people all the time that are like, you know, oh, the lazy people that don't want to work and pull your bootstraps up, and that's some of them. Or they're drug addicts and they don't want to get clean. They just want your money so they can go get more crack. Yes, some of them are like that. Right. You're absolutely right. And we should want to help them too in different ways, maybe. But anyway, so I was inspired by all of that to, you know, I would love to open up a shelter that doesn't have all of that religious baggage on it. I think that would be a worthwhile 501c3 to open up. Like, I just want to do more. That's what it really comes back down to. And part of that for me is, you know, the freedom of not punching the clock and being able to. So I could see renting out a studio, or renting out a space in maybe a strip mall even, and building out a studio and having people come in and record shows. That would be great. I would love to do that. In the meantime, though, if you want to work on a show, let me know. We can do it over the internet. All right, that was a way too long of a ramble. I did not mean to go down that.
I'm not yawning.
Rabbit hole. Shut up. Okay, so the first story here comes from. Oh no, I was going to tell you the.
Oh,
God
Jesus.
damn it! I forgot the whole story.
Ow!
So. Oh. I didn't hit you that hard. Oh, I forgot you had a sunburn. I'm so sorry.
You bitch. She's hurting me. Oh, okay. You had a story.
Okay, so I told you that story to tell you this story. So I encountered a homeless family the other night. While I was at work. They had come down here from Gary, Indiana, in a rental car with basically all of their belongings, parents and 3 young daughters. And they had burned through all their money, and they'd both gotten jobs down here, but they don't start for 2 weeks, and they're not going to have a check for 3 weeks, right? Because you got to work first.
Yeah.
And so when we tried to help these people, right? Because if it's an adult, the county deputy comes out, kind of pokes him with a stick and says, look, you don't have to, you know, I can't tell you where to go, but you can't stay here. You got to move it along, right? But now we get kids, right? Kids did not look malnourished. There was no obvious signs of abuse. Like, literally, this family just came down here looking for a better life and ran out of money before they got work, right? So we all start making phone calls, and of all the homeless shelters in the Orlando area, they all close at 8 p.m. Now it's midnight 30 at this point, right? So even if you walk up to the homeless shelter and knock on the door at midnight 30, you're out of luck. Of all the homeless shelters that there are in the Orlando area, most of them are Christian. Only one of them even accepts families. There's men's shelters, there's women's shelters, there's one in the entire Orlando area, only one that accepts families.
Wow.
And we're not doing enough, god damn it. So that's why I told you the story, to tell you the other story, to tell you that I'm mad. Okay. So the first story comes from The Hill. Republican Uber riders say that the driver kicked them out because they're Republicans.
Fair enough.
Hey, man, you got to respect my deeply held political beliefs in America.
Right?
Now, you may recall the famous MAGA hat man case that we talked about, where the court ruled that the business did have the right to ask this guy to leave because of his political hat. And while I still don't agree that that's the right position to take, it echoes the discrimination on deeply held religious beliefs that we hear all the time. And I think it's amusing to see that same tactic like used back against them. I think that's kind of fun. So to be clear, the distinction in these stories was religious belief is protected under the Civil Rights Act of 1964, but political affiliation is not. So feel free to discriminate based on political affiliation. Basically, that's what the courts have said.
Okay.
Right.
But that's okay.
6 Republican campaign volunteers in North Carolina were chatting about current politics, energy policy, and previous Republican campaign experience while being Ubered in Raleigh when the driver reportedly pulled over at a gas station and told them to get out. He insisted that he had the right to deny them service and said, as he's kicking them out of the car, "Welcome to the resistance."
What city was this in? And what's his name?
Raleigh,
Next time
North
I'm
Carolina.
there, I'm going to go. I'm never going to North Carolina.
No.
Never mind.
No, you're not.
Oh, man. That's amazing.
Uber is looking into the situation, but a spokesperson said, we expect all riders and drivers to treat each other with respect, and we're looking into this situation. But, like, you, Republicans, you created this atmosphere where if we don't agree on shit, I just get to deny you service.
Have a taste of your own medicine. That's all it is.
Bake the damn cake. Arrange the damn flowers. Let my lesbian girlfriends get married at your fucking venue. This is only going to get worse before it gets better. And
Okay. Victoria says, tell that lazy Republican to get a job and buy his own car and quit looking for others to help you get where you're going.
That's great. Okay. Here's the next story. This is some shit. The USA Today reports, make an AR-15 at home. 3D printed downloadable guns available August 1st. Now, we haven't talked about gun control recently.
Wait a minute. What?
After a years-long legal battle, a settlement was reached earlier this year between the State Department and Texas-based Defense Distributed.
Of course it's Texas.
Of course it is. That will let the nonprofit release blueprints for guns for free online starting August 1st.
Well, just choked.
Cody Wilson, Defense Distributed's founder, designed a printable plastic pistol in 2012 called the Liberator and put the plans online. Now, it was downloaded more than 100,000 times before federal officials blocked his website, citing international export law. Wilson followed with a lawsuit and reached a settlement in June. So the printers needed to make these guns range anywhere from $5,000 to $600,000 plus material. So I imagine the $5,000 one is like the pistol version, right? That's a 3D printer big enough to make a pistol.
$5,000.
That's it for a 3D printer. Yep.
Oh my god.
And the quality of the plastic resin makes a difference. Federal agents made an early print that shattered after one shot. So obviously there's a lot of concerns here that you wouldn't be able to track these guns. There's no serial numbers.
Mm-hmm.
There's no tracking of anything. If I make them and then sell them, does that make me a manufacturer? And do I have to play by the rules of the law of what manufacturers are? And how would you even know that that person is making guns? And how would you know they were a manufacturer if there's no...
It's so bizarre. Like how... God.
And what do the major gun manufacturers think of this? Like, ring up Remington and be like, hey, how do you feel about people making their own guns instead of buying them from you?
Right?
Instead of buying yours.
That's crazy. I mean, I guess it was only a matter of time before they figured out how to do something
Sure.
like this shit. But Jesus, give me the blueprints to a tank so that I can just storm Washington. Will you? Somebody, I need a 3D printer for a war vehicle. Like, that's the answer.
Yeah.
That's how you make your militia in this
guess.
day and age. You have to have a 3D printer because you ain't gonna have the same.
Yeah. But these things, so you can look up the images. I didn't pull one out to put on the thing, but it's just a basic plastic shell of a gun, and there's no like identifiable markings. You can make 100 of them, and they are all the same.
It's ridiculous.
There's no way to tell one from the other. So you could print one of these things and put on a glove and run out to commit your crime and shoot whoever you want. Toss the gun. Nobody will know where it came from.
On this week's edition of Things Texans Do to Fuck the World Over.
So there's the thing to watch. August 1st, right? So what we're waiting for, what we're hoping for, is for some fucking legislator to step out and
right?
introduce some legislation to restrict that process, right? Maybe you have to be registered. Like you can't just download it for free, right? Maybe in order to download it, you have to record your information. So I don't know what they're gonna write. I don't know how they're gonna. I don't know how they're gonna try to legislate it into this thing. But make no mistake, this is what the hardcore 2A activists believe in. They believe their Second Amendment gives them the right to have whatever they want and not have any tracking of it, and not have it. I can just have whatever I want.
Yeah.
Period.
That's insanity.
Dan says guns in Arizona cannot be tracked either. There is no requirement or ability to register non-assault rifles here. Most Republicans are against that registry idea, even though it just makes, to me, it just makes the most fucking sense in the world. But they see, here's the thing. I talked to a buddy of mine who's into this shit on the other side of this fence. It is a conspiracy theory that I need my guns to one day rise up against a tyrannical government, again, who has tanks and stealth jets and helicopters and Tomahawk missiles. Right. So even if you had a government that you needed to rise up against, good fucking luck.
You could have 85 assault rifles and...
But that's what those guys believe.
Yeah.
And that's why they don't want the government to know who has which guns and where they are. Because then the government, which is going to become tyrannical and we're going to have to fight against them, they already know where all of our guns are. They already know who has guns. They know everything. It's a fucking conspiracy theory, man. Take off the tinfoil. An update from last week. We talked about the trans woman in Arizona who was refused her hormone prescription from CVS. Well, that pharmacist has been fired.
Good riddance.
Some further information that we learned from USA Today after we covered that story. Apparently, Arizona is one of 6 states that allows pharmacies and pharmacists to flat out refuse to fill prescriptions on religious or moral grounds.
What? Arizona.
Yep.
Damn.
One of 6.
Get
According
your people
to according to CVS spokesperson Mike DeAngelis, under state law, the company must accommodate any religious convictions that prevent a pharmacist from filling specific medications. Arizona pharmacists are required to notify the company in advance about any religious convictions so that CVS could make other arrangements to ensure a patient's needs are met. Right, so you have to come in the door and say, hi, I'm a religious bigot, and I don't want to fill PrEP for gay people, and I don't want to fill hormones for trans people, and
birth control
for anybody. You got to come in and declare that shit right on your application, right? So I never did see in this story anywhere that they like quoted him or talked about his religious belief. It was just like he declined to fill this prescription, and that fell under this law, and so it was okay. But CVS fired him anyway.
Well, good. That's insanity. Like, why should... I mean, I just don't understand. If you're going to take a job like that, Why would knowing stupid people?
Okay, the next story. In the rest of the stories here, some content warning.
No, brother.
So this is a story about a trans murder. If you need to tune out for a
All
minute.
right, I'll be back.
No. Come on. I had this. Actually, I had this on the list for last week, and somehow I blew past it. But another trans woman of color was senselessly murdered in Orlando earlier this week, last week. She was 27 years old. She was a sex worker. In the last update I saw, police believed she was probably working when she was killed. And of course, the police at first misidentified her. They dead named her. And then, because that's the way the police reports, then they send that off to the local media, and the local media runs with what they were given by the police department. And when media outlets were contacted by people who knew her, they refused to update their story until they got an update from the police department. Now, later, the Orange County Sheriff's Office did issue a correction, including a Facebook post that explained their process, and I read that as a genuine, regret in the way it was handled, and it seemed like a heartfelt apology, and that surprised me so much, because we have a friend who was an Orange County Sheriff's deputy who transitioned on the job in the Orange County Sheriff's
department.
force.
Yeah,
like.
They should be aware.
Yeah, they've all gone through training, and they should know. If anybody should know how to handle it, it should be them.
Like, I was like, what? Seriously?
Friend said she was good at doing hair, and she dreamed about becoming a hairstylist, but she was first trying to save up money for transition. All dreams left unfulfilled, and her name was Sasha Garden. Also in the trans rights, trans news, some good news. Come out of that with some good news. A federal court ruled Thursday in favor of a 17-year-old transgender student in St. Johns County, Florida. His family sued the school district for discrimination after he was denied access to the boys' room. Drew Adams, and I think we talked about him early on in this court case.
When it first broke, I think.
Drew has been living authentically since 2015. Was told by the district that he could use a gender-neutral, a.k.a. separate but equal, bathroom on campus, but not the boys. This followed from an incident during his freshman year when an anonymous complaint was made after he used the boys' room. He's an honor student. He volunteers at the Mayo Clinic. And he's planning to attend medical school to become a psychiatrist.
Pretty much an amazing all-around kid.
What a great kid.
Seriously. So I'm glad that at least he got a positive outcome of that.
As we've talked in other cases, the attorneys in this case correctly argued that this policy was unconstitutional because it discriminates based on sex in violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment and Title IX of the 1972 Education Amendments Act. The court ruled in favor of Adams on both of those claims.
Oh, well, you don't say.
Further, U.S. District Judge Timothy Corrigan wrote in his decision, quote, "The evidence is that Drew Adams poses no threat to the privacy or safety of any of his fellow students. Rather, Drew Adams is just like every other student at Nice High School, a teenager coming of age in a complicated, uncertain, and challenging world. When it comes to his use of the bathroom, the law requires that he be treated like any other boy." Amen.
Good for that guy. Like, he gets it.
Hallelujah.
Seriously.
Now, I didn't see if there was, if the district was planning to appeal the decision or what, but like, I won't be surprised.
No,
and
of course they'll want to.
Yes, and especially if, I mean, man, they get the Supreme Court stacked, and they're gonna try to shove all of this stuff up to the Supreme Court to get the Republican ruling on it.
Oy.
But so far for that, now that's some good news. Here's a fun one. It is now legal to breastfeed in public in all 50 states.
Woohoo!
How long did it fucking take us?
Christ.
2018?
Where was it not legal? I'm curious.
Okay, Utah and Idaho.
Really?
Yeah, were the last states to join the rest of us here in the 21st century.
It's like weird. Well, I guess not.
No, when you think about that Republican modesty thing.
Ugh.
You know, okay.
The Duggar world.
Yes, exactly. Most of the developed world looks at this the way I do, which is like, really?
It's so weird to me, though, because like they're the same people who want their women barefoot and pregnant all the time. So you'd think
But
that
not
they would
bare-breasted
you
and
would
pregnant.
think that they would understand that part of being pregnant and having that many children is you're going to see a titty
Boob.
every now and then.
Yeah. You would think. So now Utah's bill came up short. It still required that they cover up.
Mm.
And so there's this picture going around viral.
Oh, I've seen that
I
one,
fucking loved. And it's this picture of this woman who's breastfeeding her baby, and there's the towel on her head.
Yeah,
on the mom's head.
Baby and the boob are
baby's
clear out in the day,
yeah.
but mom's head is covered. It's
You
hilarious.
told me I had to cover up. That's so good.
You didn't specify what to cover.
So apparently nipples are scary. That's what we know.
So stupid.
Utah met some resistance from conservatives who tried to say modesty or some bullshit. Ohio's passed back in March unanimously, 66-0 with no debate. So
I want to get, have you seen the swimsuits that are like, it's like a screen print of like a man's hairy body?
yes.
I want to get one of those and just wear it like with shorts
Yeah.
and a top and just walk around in public and see how many people go like double take. I think it would be a really funny social experiment.
That would be fun. Yeah. Here's something out of North Florida.
Oh.
Brother Adam Fannin of Steadfast Jacksonville Church, which is a fundamentalist Baptist church, had this wonderful bit of preaching posted on July 19th. Let's have a listen to that, eh?
In Luke 17, Jesus said, "And as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the Son of Man." Noah, I mean, it was probably a pretty crazy time in Noah's days. In Genesis 6, it says, "And God saw the wickedness of man, that it was great in the earth, and that he did every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was evil continually." All he could think about was doing evil, hurting people, harming people. That was the wickedness in the land, right? There were many people saved, but there were probably many Christians that were just not in the fight. They were surrounded by the world, and they were acting just like them, even though they had a different destination. It says, and it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart.
God was sad and angry. Why did I make these fucking humans? Why did I fucking do that?
Listen, I can understand that sentiment because every now and then my kids get so annoying that I go, "What the fuck? Why did I make these kids?"
Mm-hmm.
But
so much for the perfect creation.
Oh gosh, I love
God repented from making man when he saw what was going on in the days of Noah, right? So much so, we know the story. He did a global flood. He destroyed everybody. He set his rainbow as a promise that he will not destroy the earth anymore by a flood. But when you see that rainbow, you should think, well, we know one day God will destroy it by fire. So when you see all...
So not going to do it by flood, well, that obviously means it's by fire then.
I don't...
Couldn't be earth or wind.
Hold on. Is this Bible study?
No, not quite.
Oh, man.
No, we're not even there yet.
Oh, okay.
These atheist homos waving their rainbow flag, just think of fire, right? Remember?
When you see these atheist homos waving their rainbow flag, I was half tempted to stand up and take the flag down off the wall and wave it right now.
Why didn't you tell me? I have like little ones.
I know,
we
but
could
they're
have
not
been
here.
like having a party up in here. I should have known.
Atheist homos.
That's
us.
Hey, you're not born that way, you will burn that way. When you reject the God of the Bible and you reject the free gift of salvation, your destination is set, and this is a sign of the end times that we live in, that you will burn in hell, and yet one day God will judge this physical earth with fire and brimstone to prove to these people, and they still won't repent. We know what Revelation says. In Luke 17 it says, "Likewise also was it in the days of Lot." Right? As in the days of Lot will be a sign that we're in the end times. In Genesis 18, and it says, "And the Lord said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, right? There are those that would tell you today
Grievous.
that sodomy is not a terrible sin. Hey, God said it's grievous. God said it's one of the worst sins you can do. And hey, we don't need to ignore that. We need to preach it, and we need to stay moving forward. Look, we are in the last days.
No, we're not. We're not in the last days. There is some good evidence coming out right now, and I didn't save the stories to dig into them real deeply. Again, because I don't find the Bible to be a compelling argument for anything, right? But there is some good evidence. Just wait. I'm going to touch your sunburn again if you don't calm down. If there is some good evidence that's come out recently that shows that what we think the Bible says about homosexuality was added in later. That the original manuscripts never said, go stone the homos. And that was added in a later edit. There's more and more evidence to support that kind of stuff, and specifically that case all the time. Go ahead.
Well, he wants to sit here and talk about Noah and Lot and make bigoted remarks about the gays and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I really believe that I know enough about the Bible that Jesus came and said, didn't he say something about judge not, lest thee be judged?
Right.
Wasn't Jesus the
Yes, but judge in righteous judgment.
But no.
He also
I
said.
can't find it. I'm good. You give me a minute.
But again,
but it goes back to I thought that was the here all end all. Jesus came to earth to atone for the sins of everyone, whatever.
Right.
And so if you are on that line of reasoning, why are you making such judgment calls about the homos and their rainbow flags and their
Here's what's beautiful about the Bible. You can literally take any position. Pick one. Any side of any issue, and you can find something in that book that will support your position, right? Jesus also said, I did not come to remove the old law. I came to fulfill the law. I came to set apart a father from his son and daughter from her mother and brothers from brothers and sisters.
Sure.
So, yes, so you can find all kinds of stuff in the Bible, and I go back to the beginning of that of my position on this, which is I don't find that book compelling at all on anything. So, in fact, because as a believer, you can look at that book and interpret it in any direction you want to interpret it in. Because that even exists, I find it not relevant, not useful for knowing things. Let's listen to the last 30 seconds of this.
There are perilous times. We are surrounded by men that hate Christians. We are surrounded by women that thinks it's acceptable to be adulterers and adulteresses. And this is the signs of the times that we live in. And those are the people that the devil is rewarding and propping up. And all the homos in Hollywood and the musicians and all they're doing are just showing who their father is, which is the devil.
Okay, so here's another problem that I have with Scripture. God is all-powerful, all-knowing, all-good. If that is the case, then why does the devil have dominion over the earth and nobody can stop him? But one day, maybe Jesus will come back and Jesus will stop him. Well, just come on fucking back then. We're waiting. Come on. Okay, let's move on.
Wait, no, we can't move on. My dad says, and evidence is supporting that cannabis is a key ingredient in the holy anointing oil and that it was what Jesus used to heal.
Yes. Amen. I'll go to the First Church of Cannabis. Hell yeah.
I'll go to Mount Zion of Colorado Springs and get some healing oils.
The next story comes along with a content warning for sexual assault.
Okay.
So if you need to knock the volume down, I'll give you a second.
Okay.
This story comes from the Friendly Atheist blog over Patheos. Mark Aderholt was a prominent member of the International Mission Board, which works with the Southern Baptist Convention to send people all over the world to share the so-called good news. In 1997, when Mark was 25 and I was graduating high school, he was 25. He sexually assaulted 16-year-old Anne Marie Miller. In 2007, she reported the crime to the International Mission Board, which is the wrong organization to report it to. Let's be clear. Hello, police.
Mm-hmm.
She was told that her case would be turned over to law enforcement, but it never was.
Typical.
Rather than report Mark to police or even fire him, they offered him the opportunity to resign. But that never happened either. In fact, he went on to climb the ladder to assistant pastor. He was at Emmanuel Baptist Church in Little Rock, Arkansas, and then to associate director and chief strategist of the South Carolina Baptist Convention in 2016. On her website, she wrote, "For me, I did not recognize my abuse as abuse until I was my abuser's age in 2005. When I was serving in student ministry at the age of 25, one night at a coworker's 25th birthday party, I had a realization of how inappropriate a sexual relationship between a 25-year-old and a 16-year-old is. Serendipitously, the following day, I saw a television program on the grooming process most predators used, and it mirrored my experience. I was forever changed. The next day, I went to a counselor in my church to discuss it. I still didn't realize what occurred was an actual crime. She was not well versed in mandatory reporting and did not know she needed to report this either." Yes?
Nothing.
This is a critical failure of the church. When you create a system by which all matters are handled internally by faith leaders, who are often the ones that commit the crimes in the first place, or to God himself, you foster the environment where victims don't get help or justice. Over a decade passed where the Southern Baptists were aware of this guy's crimes, but he suffered no consequences. You don't get to set that stage and then claim moral superiority.
No.
You don't.
Not cool.
A few months ago, Miller reported the assault to police herself, which is good for you. I'm glad you finally did it.
Right.
And Aderholt was finally arrested a couple of weeks ago on charges of sexual assault against a minor and indecency with a child. Now, on the other side of this, Miller writes on her blog the 4 reasons she's come forward to share her story publicly. She wants to clear a path for other abuse victims to come forward, to incite change in the Southern Baptist Convention in the way cases like this might be handled in the future. Good luck. And offer her voice and talents to be directly involved in that change. The 4th and final reason says this: "Finally, it is my hope that by coming forward publicly, whether you are a survivor, an abuser, the loved one of a survivor or abuser, or simply a bystander to all of this, that we all will know the hope, love, freedom, and joy that is found through a saving relationship in Christ. It is through this relationship that I have the hope, love, freedom, and joy that I have, and these things fuel each and every imperfect step I take." Right.
Sorry.
Right. All of that stuff enabled
Yeah.
your abuser.
I mean,
and so I
sad, but true.
realize, yeah. So like I realize she's dealing with trauma, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely get that. But I don't, and again, this is coming from the atheist perspective, so take that for what it is, but I can't imagine going through something like this and turning back to God. Turning to God for, going back for more.
Yeah, I get it. I get you. I hear you. But so many people
So many do.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just so commonplace.
It's a cycle of abuse.
And it's hard to, I don't know, it's hard to get into that bubble to figure out what the thought process is there, other than it's just what you learn and what you've been taught. And maybe there's a part of that is comforting. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
right. And until you look at it from the outside and you go, oh God, that like it was the church that
I just feel
allowed
like
this whole thing to happen.
I would think, I don't know. I would feel betrayed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I would
Right.
be able to like turn around and go, okay, I can reconcile. And I hear a lot of people say that the excuse is, oh, well, we're all imperfect.
Sure.
But yeah, we're all imperfect, but we also, there's such thing as a conscience, and you should be able to determine the difference between right and wrong.
Yeah.
And not only that, this one person did an awful thing to another person, but then the people in charge at the church swept it under the rug.
Right.
And you can't, how long does that we're all imperfect hold up?
Yeah.
When laws are being
Not
broken.
long. Right.
Like there's only
Right.
so far you can go with that. Like I can understand that, like, oh, this happened, but it was handled the right way. And then if it was handled the right way, I can see being able to go back and, but
I'd like to hear the journey, right? Did she question God through all of this? Did this weaken her faith in some way? I would had to have. And then she came back from it. Like I would be interested to hear that story.
Yeah.
That's a journey I'd like to hear about. Because for me, I can't get past it's the problem of evil for me, right? If God is good, all knowing and all powerful, then he knew that this was happening. God knew that this older man was taking advantage of me when I was 16 years old, and he did nothing to stop it. Or he was incapable of stopping it, which means he's not all powerful.
Right.
Or he didn't want to stop it, which means he's not all good.
Right. It's
Yeah.
just, yeah. I just don't, I don't know. I'd have to.
Or worse, like, oh, well, God has a plan for my life, and this happens in God's will.
Plan for my life is that I get sexually abused by somebody that is pretending to be his servant, and then his other servants cover it up. I don't think I want to be a part of God's plan for me.
Fuck that guy's plan. Yes. Absolutely.
That's some sadistic stuff right there. So I'm really interested to know the thought process of how you reconcile the two without coming away from it with some kind of doubt in the back of your mind.
Right. The next story also has a content warning.
Jesus, with all the content warning.
Listen, there's some bad shit going on.
I know.
So this is about another baby who was killed. This time not because of like negligence for care.
Okay.
Because of faith healing. But far, far worse. 37-year-old Alex Hidalgo, the father of a baby found dead in Ogden, Utah, has been arrested for an investigation on murder. Last Friday, a neighbor called police and said her neighbor's son was not breathing. Now, according to a probable cause statement, the boy's mother said that Hidalgo was watching the 10-month-old and another child while she was out running errands. When she returned, Hidalgo was sitting on the couch, quote, sitting on the couch in the front room, reading a Bible and watching a video of religious music and sermons. He had told her he built an altar like they had talked about, ostensibly in the sermon that he was watching. When she asked where her son was, Hidalgo told her that he was dead, which at first she thought was a joke. Then he starts talking about the baby having 666 on him. So she goes to pick up the phone, and he tells her, don't call anybody or you're going to send me to prison. The mother starts searching the house, finds the boy in a closet inside a garbage can, according to police. When she came out of the closet holding her son, she saw Hidalgo fleeing the apartment. She then exited the apartment screaming, and a neighbor called 911 and helped her perform CPR on the boy. Police found bloodstains on the wall and carpet, as well as multiple bloody towels throughout the apartment. They found a paring knife in the kitchen sink that appeared to have been recently washed, and a strainer with what appeared to be human tissue. Detectives said the infant had 3 stab wounds to the neck. Now, authorities pick up this asshole on Saturday night. He's wearing the same clothes of the night of the murder. Still blood on his shirt, arms, and hands. Now, he's got quite the record. Record enough that he should never have been allowed alone with a fucking child. Domestic violence in front of a child, intoxication, DUI, misdemeanor drug possessions. Weber County charged him with aggravated murder, along with obstruction of justice and desecration of a body. Utah has the death penalty option, and so he could face execution for the murder charge. So let me say again, because I haven't said it in a while, Religion poisons everything. I don't know what the sermon was about that this guy was watching, but let's do some Bible study. Let's take the story of Abraham. This is what I imagine he was probably watching. Let's take the story of Abraham. And for our friends who may not have come from Judeo-Christian faith, I'll read it. Turn with me, if you will, to Genesis 22. Sometime later, God tested Abraham. He said to him, "Abraham, here I am," he replied. Then God said, "Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you." Now, at that point, full stop, fuck you, God. No, I'm out.
Yeah.
But Abraham got up the next morning, loaded up his donkey. He took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. When he had cut enough wood for the burnt offering, he set out for the place God had told him about, which was just a random mountain that God will show you when you get there, I guess. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. He said to his servants, "Stay here with the donkey while I and the boy go over there. We will worship, and then we will come back to you." We? You know damn good and well we not going to come back to you. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife. How do you carry fire when you're in the... I don't understand that.
Hold on. What? Wait, what?
I don't have the verse numbers. I didn't copy that.
It was probably a torch.
Yeah, I'm sure. As the 2 of them went on together, Isaac spoke up and said to his father Abraham, "Father?" "Yes, my son," Abraham replied. "The fire and wood are here," Isaac said, "but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?"
Oh my God.
Because, sidetrack, because before Jesus, we had to kill animals to make sacrifices to God, to make God happy. It was animals. Before Jesus came along, and then it was a person. But before that, it was just animals.
Can I just stop you for a minute?
Please.
I know this story. I heard this story. I've read this story my whole freaking childhood.
Uh-huh.
And I just now realized that Isaac said, "Where is the lamb?" I never caught that before.
Where's the lamb?
Like, where is the lamb? I never caught that before.
And Abraham's like, "You are. You're the lamb."
God. Like, as a parent, reading this as a parent now, I got a whole different feeling about it.
All right. Abraham, deep in the premeditative part of this murder scheme, lies and says, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And the 2 of them went on together. When they reached the place God had told him about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. Full stop again. I don't care how you want to try to interpret this, but if the God of this Bible is the God you worship, but let's talk. We need to have a conversation. Even if you try to play this off as a fable, some story meant to teach a lesson, and the lesson here is that your maniacal God will, like, literally anything.
Emotionally torture you at best.
Yes, he'll do fucking anything.
He's testing, like, I understand the purpose of a test.
Yeah.
But this is like...
Yeah. So God is asking you to trust him with literally your child's life, even if it's a fable. Why? I could write a better story tomorrow that would teach the same moral lesson without any of the threat of death. And if you're still making excuses for this story, this book, or your God, just remember, this guy is the father of the Abrahamic faiths. This is the guy we look back to with reverence as a godly man, because God tested him and he was willing to kill his own son. Why are we proud of that? Okay, if you keep reading, verse 11. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, because God was busy, so it was just the angel. Sends the angel to handle the details.
It was some third shift.
He says, Abraham, Abraham, here I am, he replied. Abraham's a little gay. Do not lay a hand on the boy, he said. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. Again, this is the idea that you must love God up to and including killing your own child. And if your husband said, you got to love me, and to prove it to me, I want you to kill our kid, you call 911.
Yeah.
Period. If you'd call 911, and if you called 911 in that situation, you're more moral than the God you worship. Now, of course, something has to die. So in 2013, Abraham looked up, and there in a thicket, he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. The voices in his head speak again and tell him that since he was willing to offer up his son for death on an altar, that God will bless him and his descendants because of his blind obedience. And this is why Abraham is the father of the worst religions known to man today. And if you've lost hope after all of that, if you've lost hope, let me offer up the next couple of stories.
Please bring it up a little bit.
The Freedom from Religion Foundation sent a letter earlier this year to the La Harpe Community School District in Illinois to complain that the elementary school principal, Lila McCown, includes references to Christianity and or scripture in flyers that are distributed at staff meetings. The FFRF posted an image of one such flyer, the Eagle Eye News Friday flyer, dated March 23rd, which talks about the upcoming spring break.
Ooh.
The very first block on the page says, advantages of spring break. Number 1, focus on spirituality. Easter is the celebration of God's greatest gift, salvation through Jesus Christ. Public school.
Wow, that's fascinating.
And it goes on to say, spend time with your family, de-stress, do something fun, rejuvenate. Directly beneath this, there's a pink flowery tree picture, clip art thing that says, Easter blessings. May you feel Christ's love in your heart and be filled with his peace and joy this Easter season and always.
Is that how they talk?
No, that's how I talk. Another example provided to the FFRF says, on this Thanksgiving Day, may your home be filled with loving presence of Almighty God. May his presence be felt in your home, and may his gift of peace be present in your home. Reflect upon his blessings to you and thank him for what he has done for you. And Isaiah 9:6-7, for unto us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God.
Wow.
So the FFRF claims that McCown permitted an individual to offer Bibles to students as well.
Ooh.
An attorney for the school district responded to that claim, advising that McCown would discontinue from quoting scripture in any form of school communication. However, it also noted that she knew nothing about the individual who was reportedly distributing Bibles near the school. The attorney said the individual was actually offering Bibles on the street, but that section of the street did belong to the school district. The attorney wrote, this individual was clearly informed that North D Street is part of the school district campus and cannot be used for Bible distribution activities. And the letter also said that a cease and desist letter was sent to that person. More than that, the attorney said, this individual was warned that law enforcement would be called should he or any affiliated persons come onto the school district campus for the purpose of distributing Bibles to students. So let me say again, you can't bring your religion into the public schools like this. You can't proselytize your students or teachers or staff. And as always, if you find out that this thing is happening in a school district near you, the FFRF can help. FFRF.org.
And if these people need help figuring out like what the positives are for spring break or Thanksgiving break or winter break that aren't religious and infringing on anybody else's beliefs,
yep.
Google has probably a great, like, you could go to BuzzFeed and probably find a top 10 list of awesome things to do on your week off of school.
Right.
Jesus.
Here's another example of the FFRF working for religious neutrality in our schools. A federal appeals court decided Wednesday that Chino Valley School Board meetings in California may not include prayers, proselytizing, or the citing of Christian scripture. The school district argued on appeal that it was covered by an exception for traditional prayer at the start of state legislatures, Congress, and town hall meetings, which is true. Which is true. The exception that, we're also fighting to make sure that if you let the Christian pastor get up and say a prayer, you also have to let a Muslim imam or an atheist or a humanist or whatever. It has to be fair.
Right.
But the Ninth Circuit disagreed.
Oh, really?
They said that unlike Congress, state legislature, or city councils, school board meetings function as an extension of the educational experience of the public school. Their decision said in part, quote, these prayers typically take place before groups of school children whose attendance is not truly voluntary, and whose relationship to the school district officials, including the board, is not one of full parity. Oftentimes, students who have won awards or they invite performing groups to perform at the school board meetings. So they're talking about these are the kids that are there in attendance who, were dragged there by their parents, and so you're subjecting them to your religious opinions without their consent. Judicial precedent in other circuits has been set that school board prayers are off limits. And there's one that allowed prayer in its ruling, but it noted that there was not a student on the board. So they made their deal was, had there been a school board student advocate on the board, like there's a lot of, and we're going to talk next week. Next week, Kayla Tedder will be in studio. We're going to talk to her about her run for school board. But some school boards have a student representative who sits in, and they have no vote. They don't get to vote, but they
can
get
put
to
input.
they could give their input during the discussions. And so this other one case that was ruled was that there wasn't a student on the board. So go ahead and pray. Chino Valley School Board does have a student member. But primarily, the court's ruling comes back to the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. They say in the ruling, the Establishment Clause, grounded in experiences of persecution, affirms the fundamental truth that no matter what an individual's religious beliefs, he has a valued place in the political community. Well said. Maybe we'll talk about that with Kayla next week.
Yeah.
So before we close up here, I've got one more thing. But so Kayla Tedder is going to come in studio next week.
And we talked to her when we were at Polk Pride.
Right.
She just graduated high school. She's running for school board.
Yeah.
Here in our county.
She's an accredited legal professional.
Yeah.
On track to becoming an attorney.
Girl's got her shit together.
She really does. So I posted this in the group and on the Twitter. If you have questions that you want us to ask Kayla, or if any questions that you would just ask your general school board member, right? If you're considering who to vote for school board, kick us some of those questions, and if we can work them into our chat with her, we will. There are some personal questions that I'm interested in knowing, right? Like some of this church state separation stuff. She was on the Hillary Clinton local campaign team. She worked for Bob Doyle, who we interviewed on the show a while back. And now she's running her own campaign. I want to know if you get on the school board, right, and a trans kid comes out, what's your steps? What are you going to do? Where do you think they belong? Because I know her enough to know that she's probably studied the legal precedent, or that she would go back to that. That would be her. I'm guessing that would be her answer, right?
Yeah.
Because I know there have been court cases. I would have to look and see what the precedent has been, and I would probably, because I'm going to follow legal precedent, because if we take a lawsuit on as the school board, that costs money. That costs taxpayers money. That costs all of us who live here. We have to pay for that.
Yeah.
And so our district is not well off. Our district has a very terrible graduation rate. We're going to talk about all of those things and what the hell we do about it next week with Kayla Tedder, Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. The best stories start with
Florida man.
I really want to write a song for this.
We should. That would be awesome.
I'm thinking something like, what is it? Ghost Riders in the Sky. And it would be like, Florida man, Florida man. I don't know.
I was thinking like Beverly Hillbillies.
Oh, God.
Here come the Clampets. They're getting sad in the chat over here.
I know,
about
I
no
know.
Florida man.
There's
so
a
you
Florida
better,
man. Calm down, calm down.
Really, calm your tits.
See, Dan knows the deal. I'm still holding paper. There's, of course, there's another.
There you go, Dan. Dan's got it all figured out.
Okay, 3 stories this week. Ooh. 2 challengers to the Florida title. 2 challengers. The first outsider challenge is from Massachusetts. A Massachusetts man was arrested after police say he stripped down inside a Planet Fitness in New Hampshire. 34-year-old Eric Stagno walked into Stagno. What a name.
Right?
Walked into the gym.
Are you a stag? Nope.
Nope. Walked into the gym, took his clothes off, walked back and forth a few times before, because you got to show it off.
Yeah.
Before settling in on the yoga mats. Ew.
Oh my God.
Officers arrived around 1:30 p.m. to find Stagno completely nude in a yoga-type position. He was arrested and charged with indecent exposure, lewdness, and disorderly conduct. Police said the only statement he made was that he thought Planet Fitness was a judgment-free zone, which is a reference to their slogan.
Their slogan does say that. So,
now there's a postscript to this story. Former governor of Arkansas and presidential wannabe Mike Homophobe Huckabee tweeted a response to this story. He says, quote, with the idiocy of Planet Fitness having said men could go into women's locker rooms and saying there is no real gender and we can be whatever we feel like being, who would have seen this coming? End quote.
Nothing to do with it, by the way.
Yes, Planet Fitness allows, quote, members and guests to use all gym facilities based on their sincere self-reported gender identity. However, there's no evidence that allowing people to use a restroom or changing room that matches their gender identity rather than based on external sex organs is dangerous or harmful to anyone. In fact, as we've said a million times, the Human Rights Campaign reports that at least 300 major companies have similar policies in place guaranteeing the right of trans people to affirming a restroom or locker room access, and so far, none of that has led to any increase in sexual assaults. But beyond all of that, this guy wasn't even in the restroom or locker room.
He was on a yoga mat.
He's men's or women's. He was in the common area naked on a yoga mat, which nobody is allowed to do.
Yes. No matter what you have going on anywhere.
Victoria says Planet Fitness is judgment free, but the courts aren't.
Yeah, exactly. Neither are the churches.
Story number 2. This one's for Dan. Arizona coming in again this week with a contender. Former Arizona State University basketball player Todd Shell, 37, was released from Banner Desert Hospital Tuesday morning, one report said, after being treated for a heat-related illness. When he walked out of the hospital, he thought it was just too damn hot to walk home, and he wasn't wrong. It was 116 degrees in Phoenix that day.
Damn!
The hottest time, at the time, that was the hottest day on record of the year. So instead of walking home or calling a friend or getting an Uber or going back inside and cooling back off for a little bit, what did he do? He found an ambulance running in one of the bays, and while the paramedics were taking another patient inside, he hopped in the ambulance and took off. Your face.
What? Oh my God.
Using the magic of GPS, officers found the ambulance driving eastbound on US 60 and tried to pull him over, but he continued driving at normal speed. Eventually, he exited the freeway and stopped. He told police he wanted to buy a sandwich, but needed to go home and get money first, and that he intended to return the ambulance.
I mean, listen, that's like grand theft, right?
Oh, look, Banner Desert is just 3 miles from downtown.
Wow,
That's
old
great.
house. So, okay, it's grand theft, right? Because that's like federal property, and it's a humongous, like, $1 million vehicle. Okay, so if I'm going to steal something like an ambulance, I am not going to drive normal speed down the highway. I'm going to have the
Lights
sirens
on,
and
going,
lights,
yeah.
and I'd be flooring it.
Yep.
I mean, you know, if you're going to go out, you might as well go all out.
Okay. The final story for the contest tonight. Martin County Sheriff's Office responded to a Target store in Stuart, Florida earlier this month after a manager called in a shopper doing strange things at the store. The 53-year-old man, later identified as Jeffrey Ian McKelvey, and Jeffrey is Geoffrey. If you spell your name Jeffrey with a G,
You're a Toys R Us kid.
I'm judging. Got into an argument with another customer and then dropped his pants and told the person to kiss his naked behind.
You go.
He also Geoffrey. He also behaved in a rambunctious way while walking around the aisles, at one point knocking over the contents on the shelf. He was already gone by the time deputies arrived, but they found him later at a nearby house about a mile away. A search of the home revealed drugs, including marijuana, and 11 pipes with traces of THC.
Whoa.
He told deputies the drugs were his and that they were blessed by God.
Oh, shit.
When asked why he acted up in the Target store, he said that his teachers told him to go to Target and destroy items inside of the store. I don't know if that's like the voices in his head or the religious leaders, or I don't know who the teachers are.
Is it the people who told him his pipes were blessed?
Maybe. He was arrested and booked on charges, including exposure of sexual organs, possession of less than 20 grams of marijuana, possession of drug paraphernalia, and possession of THC resin. He was held on $6,500 bond.
So, okay, I got to get around this.
Yep.
Is teachers sent them? Is this like the people that are trying to boycott Target because Target has
That's what I was
trans-inclusive
thinking. Right.
bathroom
That's what I was
policies?
thinking. Yeah.
Because that would make sense. Also, I'm sorry. If you're going to go to Target, it is not appropriate to pull your pants down. You do that shit at Walmart.
Right? Hell, at Walmart, they don't even wear pants. Are you kidding me?
Exactly. That's why nobody would even notice. Anyway.
All right. Your choices tonight. Downward facing nude dude. Arizona is just too damn hot. And you've heard of manna from heaven? I've got ganja from God.
Oh my gosh.
What do you think? What's your vote?
I don't know. They're all so good.
Yeah.
Jeez, this is a rough week, guys. Dan said, "Did the Arizona man lift the ambulance?"
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I like the ganja from God.
Right.
I think that's hilarious. However, I'm gonna have to go with the Arizona guy with the ambulance.
Yeah, I think that one's pretty good too.
I mean, that's like the most outrageous out of all of them. Like, I can totally see somebody getting pissed off in a Target and pulling their pants down. And I can also see, you know, there are a lot of crazies that would just go into the gym and take their clothes off, I guess. I don't know.
Right. Well, if I remember this week, I'll put it up in the group. I don't remember every week. I'm sorry. What I need to do is pick out a moderator.
Dan says he's legally required to pick the Arizona story.
Could you cite a religious objection,
Russell's
to
making
pick a
up words.
different
He says ambulift.
That's awesome. That's great.
Oh, man.
We want to thank our wonderful patrons for Patreoning us every week. Let me see if I have that list. I'll thank at least the top patrons. Our top patrons. And I want to try to get our shit together here going forward and really have a process with this because we have.
If you're a top patron, or no, if you're a bottom patron, don't feel bad that you don't get mentioned. Bottoms are good too.
Yeah, we love bottoms too. Bottoms, tops, whatever. No, so the long-term plan is. Stacy says, "I just woke up. Can you restart the show?"
No.
No.
You got about an hour before she pulls the video. So once we go off, you can start it over.
What the fuck was I saying? Oh, so the long-term plan here, as we have more patrons, and please, more patrons.
Yeah.
Tell a friend, share the episodes. If there's anybody you know that would enjoy this kind of content, please share it around. Is that I won't be reading all of them every week, right?
Yeah.
I'll be reading the new ones every week.
Yeah.
And then maybe once a month we read the top patrons.
Yeah.
So I'll do that now. Our top patrons are the Wayward Willis Podcast, Mandy Imus, OG co-host Mandy Imus, part-time patron Russell, and Andrea. They're top patrons. Thank you so much for supporting what we do, for all of you that support the show. And I'll leave the feed running a little bit so you guys can talk about your sexual preferences, whether you're top or bottom, because now we've struck a chord, I guess. So we'll.
Oh man, I couldn't help myself.
Oh,
You were
my
just like,
God.
you just left it wide open for me.
Well.
Yeah.
I didn't get a single bell all night long.
We haven't. We've been really bad about that.
Yeah, we have. All right.
Okay. So
That's going to do it for the show this week. Again,
next week we got Kayla.
tune in next week. We have Kayla Tedder. She'll coming in studio.
Okay.
Yep, going to be
I need
in
to
studio live.
Clean this room then.
Yes, we have lots of work to do. And that'll be next week, and then we'll go from there. I don't know what we're going to talk about. You've been listening to Sarah Talk.
Sarah Talk is made possible by listener support. Visit patreon.com/SarahTalk to become a patron and help keep this program going. Contact Sarah and Company by email at producer@sarahtalk.com or call 224-40-SARAH. That's 224-407-2724. And follow us on social media, facebook.com/SarahTalkRadio and on Twitter @SarahTalkRadio. Sarah Talk is a production of Sarah Austin Media.